Steve, thank you. Consumer alert tonight. A product sold at gas stations all across Oklahoma is now linked to 58 deaths.
Tonight, state officials are warning retailers, sell it illegally and you will be held accountable. KXII 12's Ava Gibson reports.
Just because it's sold in a gas station does not make it safe. Just because it's advertised as natural does not necessarily mean it's safe.
Kratom is a tropical plant from Southeast Asia, sold in teas, capsules, and powders at gas stations and smoke shops across the country. In low doses, it acts like a stimulant. In high doses, a sedative. But Oklahoma officials say a synthetic version of the drug is far more dangerous, and it's killing people.
That they have identified 58 overdoses deaths since January of 2025, where the synthesized kratom was at least a contributing factor or found in the system.
The state says synthetic kratom is 10 to 30 times more potent than the natural form and far more addictive. Kratom is still legal in the state of Oklahoma, but only if it complies with the state's potency limits.
But any kratom product that has 7-hydroxymetragenine over 1% is a banned substance in Oklahoma. And it's you as a store that is responsible.
Mark Woodward with the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics says retailers must test their own products or face the consequences.
You cannot have this kind of nonchalant attitude. You're putting people at risk, and people are dying here in Oklahoma, and you will be held accountable.
If you think a store is selling illegal kratom, you can file a complaint with the Oklahoma State Department of Health. And Woodward says there's a growing support in the state legislature to make synthetic kratom a Schedule I substance, giving authorities more power to pursue criminal charges. Reporting Ava Gibson, KXII 12.